Hey guys, how's it going? This is going to be my last video for this season. A couple days ago I was on YouTube and the Critical Drinker released a video on the Lord of the Rings trilogy and how they just don't make film like that anymore. And I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot. 2 years ago in season 6, 2021, it marked the 20-year anniversary of the Fellowship of the Ring. So I posted my review for it. It was called 3 Hour Frodo. And I meant to do a review for each of the films, like in their respective, 20-year mark. I completely forgot last year, and I almost forgot this year. So I'm just essentially going to talk about all three very briefly right now. They are an absolute wonder of filmmaking. And who would have ever thought? I mean, honestly, if you had heard that the guy who directed like Brain Dead and The Frighteners was going to helm The Lord of the Rings, I mean, I would have been scared. Like even liking those movies, I would have been like, okay, what's this guy gonna do? But the casting, the set design, the fact that they went ahead and filmed all three of these movies back to back, like one cohesive story, the way it's supposed to be, it had never been done before, and it was a huge risk. And that's something that Hollywood just doesn't do anymore. Or at least, I mean, hasn't done in a really long time. I'll never forget, it was my sophomore year in high school, all right? And our social studies teacher, Mr. O'Brien, had just gone out to see The Two Towers. And he told us, guys, I'm telling you now, go out to see this movie. This is something that happens like once a generation. What Star Wars was for my generation, this is for you guys. Like, I would highly recommend that you all go out to theaters to see this. Just so transformative. The casting was absolutely on point. There were a few little tweaks that they made. There was no Tom Bombadil. Like, the way the Balrog looked was a little bit different. It was described as having like the head of a lion, actually a little bit more similar to the Ralph Bakshi version, but it still looked like cat-like, and the horns, it was cool. Peter Jackson really went out of his way to make these as much like the books as he could. The fact that so much of it is practical effects. And they use CG where they really needed it, but like the orc costumes are real. The beautiful scenery, the wilderness, the mountain ranges, even some of the new things that they had done, like the new technology with taking known actors and shrinking them and having like different platforms to make it look like they're walking at different heights to other characters who are normal sized. The fact that they took like these really detailed tiny models and blew them up to look gigantic. Stuff that had never been done before. The absolutely beautiful music that fit it in such a particular way. I'm probably preaching to the choir here when I say that the tiniest little tweak could have changed the entire vibe of these movies. It was just so cool. And something that the drinker touched on, which is absolutely true, is the fact that all of the actors, everybody involved with the production, had a very real respect for the story. They talk about their characters and their character motivations and how what they're doing to try and make it as authentic as it can be. Viggo Mortensen even walked around with like a copy of Lord of the Rings so that he could consistently refer to it. I mean, these guys got messed up on set. Sean Astin got a piece of glass in his foot. Viggo Mortensen broke his toe. I think he also chipped a tooth or something like that. Apparently, Orlando Bloom broke a rib. I didn't know that. But, I mean, these people, like, actually kind of went through some pain to get these movies out. Just the epic scope of these movies from a director who, I mean, this was like his make or break, and the fact that New Line Cinema trusted him with such a project. And to compare it to, like, say, the Rings of Power today, you see all these actors talking about how diverse it's gonna be on their little checklist. And it's like, looking at them interviewed versus the cast of the original trilogy, there's no comparison. One respects the story, the other ones are filling a quota. And I think that that's very telling of the sign that we live in. We've had a rough patch of film. It's gotten steadily worse. But again, so as not to be a Debbie Downer, You look at like the late 90s into the early 2000s, about the mark where Lord of the Rings came out, every movie, they just had the shittiest CGI, and there was so much of it that was very phoned in, very like assembly line kind of a thing, and people did obviously get sick of it, so movies evolved and started off with something brilliant like the Lord of the Rings. So hey, who knows? You know, maybe we have something just on the horizon that's gonna be breakthrough, totally groundbreaking and awesome. But as of today, I will say that the Lord of the Rings movies are a filmmaking experience that I have not seen since. Going in to see those movies, it was like a complete and total transportation into this magical world that I believed in a weird way. And considering the fact that these ranged from like just under 3 hours to 3.5 hours, like 4.5 hours if you've seen the extended versions, you know, but the fact that like it keeps you on the edge of your seat, it keeps you watching and wanting more. Like, it's just a testament to the amazing filmmaking. Like I said, we've not seen the likes of this kind of film since it came out, essentially. So, you know, here's hoping that we do in the future, because cinema needs a real kick in the ass right now. So again, this is my last video this year. Happy New Year, guys. What did you think about the Lord of the Rings? Rings of Power I've not actually seen. If any of you have and you feel like commenting about that below, feel free. Any Middle-earth movie, we could talk about the Hobbit movies below if you want. Happy New Year, and that's all she wrote.